on my mom's side, I'm from the Pueblo of Isleta. My dad's side, I am Navajo.
Oh,
My
okay.
dad from the Four Corners area from Shiprock.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so back to your question about me and why and what
Yeah.
and how and so I've been working for Indian country in Indian country for gosh, over 30 years. Um, by profession, I'm an accountant. So I've been like the chief financial officer of several tribes. The last tribe that I worked for, I was the CEO of a corporation. I had 12 enterprises that I managed.
Impressive.
Yeah, and so the spirit leads me, and I got led to Santa Fe, and did not know what I was going to do. I just knew that I was supposed to be here, and yeah, I ended up getting the executive director of the Santa Fe Indian Market during a pandemic.
Wow, that's interesting because you're coming from, accounting background.
And marketing. So I actually have both degrees. Yeah.
Right. And you're going totally into more of an arts field.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's been really interesting, so one of the things, I was born in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and my mom and dad went to IIA. I think dad was the first generation that graduated from
Okay.
IIA in 1964. So the class ring of 1964, my mom and dad designed, which is the Thunderbird logo of IIA.
All
And
right.
so, yeah, so I grew up in an arts family, for sure. And I just feel like for Santa Fe Indian Market, it was just a perfect fit for them and for me, because they really did need a pivot, with this pandemic. The way to sustain this organization, I feel that it needed another business model. So we're definitely pursuing a digital market space for artists,
All
and
right.
I'm excited about that. And then, creating these two events. And so I feel like I'm here fixing antiquated systems and building some foundation that's up to date for this organization. And yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with your being a chief financial officer in accounting, hopefully you can work on the numbers, and hopefully you can sometime in the future make the booth fees a lot more lower for the artists. How about that, huh? No, not gonna happen.
I'm wondering what kind of accountant you are. So what is the medium in which you work, Rowan?
I actually work in two different mediums. I work in clay. So I do a lot of hand building, hand coiling, and a lot of hand painting decorative work on my ceramic forms, so my pottery forms. So that's one medium that I work in. I also work in pen and ink designs. I do a lot of pen and ink illustrations by hand. My illustrations are all original and they're all freehand executed.
So how long have you been a SWAIA juried artist?
Wow, that's a really good question. You know what? And I should have looked that up before I even got into this interview. But I would say this last year was probably maybe my 5th or 6th year there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there was a couple of years where I wasn't in the market, I guess due to lack of booths or whatever. But yeah, I would say about maybe 5 or 6 years into doing the Indian market.
Oh, wow. Okay. So did you do anything digital or virtual this last year?
I did the virtual market, so which that worked out really well.
Good.
Well, for me, one of the benefits of the virtual market was that opportunity of working with ArtSpan and developing another online platform for myself, a website, a proper formal website that has the ability for people to go on there and actually purchase something off of the website. So before I really didn't have that platform, I didn't really have that access. So, you know, developing that with ArtSpan and SWAIA, that was really helpful on my part. I mean, beneficial for me. So
did you use the 2D feature?
yes, I did use that.
Oh, you
yes.
did?
That is part of my whole body of work. Yes.
Yeah, no, I have to say when we launched that and we were in that virtual Indian market, I was just like, okay, I don't know if I can afford that, but I really want that. And so I was taking advantage of the 2D printing just so that I could like experience that whole purchasing. And it was very cool. So I'm glad that it was good for you too.
Yeah, so that worked out well. And as of right now, I continue to use that website on ArtSpan, and you know, I get quite a bit of traffic, a lot of inquiries about my work, and I've also been able to, you know, make a few sales through the website, which has been really helpful for me.
So do you have any pieces to share with us? Did you?
Yeah.
You did. Yay.
Well, okay, Kim. But yes, here's an example of one of my
Rowan, that's gorgeous.
So this is an example of, you know, kind of, you know, an example of what I do. Everything I do is all handmade. Everything's all hand built, hand coiled, and everything's all hand painted. So here's an example. This is a piece I just finished, and this piece is actually shipping out to New York sometime this week. Wow. So very happy about that. And here's a piece I'm working on right now. It's in the process of development. So I'm going through the hand painting process. Yeah. So I built the form up. It's all made out of clay. Basically, this is bone dry clay here. So I'm going through the hand painting process, which is about, I would say, 75% done. Yeah. And then once I finish the decorative process, then it goes into the firing process, and then it comes out pretty much what the piece that I just showed looks like. It'll be white, it'll be green and black.
Has it been fired once already before you paint?
The one then it hasn't been fired.
Okay.
So basically that is basically bone dry clay. And what ceramic artists refer to as basically greenware. Once I finish the hand painting process, then it gets kiln fired. And then once it gets kiln fired, then it's done.
Gotcha. So,
yes. As far as design work is concerned, I like doing pen and ink designs on paper.
Oh, yes, that's gorgeous.
So this is kind of an example of one of my pen and ink designs. Again, everything is all freehand. So when I approach my work, when I go through the whole process of development, I don't use any rulers or stencils or compasses or anything like that. Everything is freehand. It's all original artwork. So this is a piece here that I just recently made. And I have another one here that I just recently finished. I went camping out in the desert a couple weeks ago. And out in the desert, when you're camping, you know, there's not much to do. So I definitely take that opportunity. You know, I try to process or try to tie in to the energy of Mother Earth. And this particular time, it was the energy of the desert. So, so I created this is another illustration that I did, and again, pen and ink, lovely, hand drawn on paper, and yeah, it's another piece I just finished up. So yeah.
Wow. So a master doodler.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
you're amazing. Those are amazing. Especially the fact that you don't use any kind of tools to have it asymmetrically perfect. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely rely I try to rely on my eye. I've had like several years of being in the art department at my local community college. So I've done a lot of like, basic drawing classes, a lot of life drawing, many semesters of life drawing. And I feel, being in that, in that arena, with that experience, with that knowledge, it's really helps me be accurate and rely on just my eye and my judgment when it comes to the balance and the symmetry of my work. With my work, I don't really deal in prints too much. Um, I kind of like the idea of the original piece being the only piece out there in existence. So when it comes to prints, I don't make prints. I usually don't. Um, Now, if somebody, looks at my body of work, if they go onto the website and they see um, pieces that I've done in the past that were sold that I don't have in my possession anymore, and they ask me if I want to recreate it, I'd be glad to do it. In majority of the time, I would say 95% of the time I'll do it, but it never really comes out the same again. There's always little subtle little differences that make it, still a unique, one of a kind illustration.
That's really good to know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that that's the beauty of what artists have to offer, right? What it's their philosophy, it's what they're seeing, it's what they're creating, what is the meaning. That's been
Mhm.
the real fun part for me to have these conversations with artists. So have you been creative since, during this pandemic? Have you been
Oh
inspired?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
definitely. I think for me, remaining creative, um, indulging in my work. I also, I teach pottery classes here in Fullerton. So
Okay.
I teach at a nonprofit cultural center, which
Mhm.
is called the Muckenthaler Cultural Center. So I teach adult hand building pottery classes. And so that's been very beneficial, teaching, because when I'm teaching, I'm always making something, I'm always developing pieces, along with the students. So that has been very beneficial. But yeah, creativity, being creative has definitely been an essential primary source of, getting through the pandemic.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's been different. I mean, some people have responded with, I've not been able to create at all. And other artists have been like, yeah, it took me a little while to like launch some
Right.
creativity. And then some of them are like, I've done nothing but be creative. So it's definitely been a mixed bag. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so much happened in like 2020, not only with the pandemic, but with all the civil unrest, with the whole protest movement that happened, with the former, you know, administration and their policies that they were trying to implement. There's so much going out there, with the climate and with Native American issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was a lot of energy out there, and whether some of it was positive, some of it was negative, but you know, when you watch that, and when you see it on a daily basis, whether it be on the internet or you watch it on TV, you respond to that energy, and you just, for me, it just, yeah, I just had to be creative. I had to do something,
Right.
so that, you know, so yeah, definitely being creative, trying to keep being imaginative, trying to always work. That was very essential in getting through the pandemic. Definitely getting through this whole shutdown thing.
You're in California, so miss home? Do you miss New Mexico?
Well, yes, definitely. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, actually, I was born in Albuquerque,
Okay.
but I was raised here in Southern California.
Oh.
So mostly in different parts of Los Angeles, a lot in North Long Beach. So, in my adult years, my parents, they retired about 10 years ago. And after they retired, they moved back to the Pueblo of Isleta. Um,
Wow.
so,
So
so
that's
since,
gotta be cool for you to like have them back in the Pueblo and then you get to
yeah,
experience that.
so it's definitely put me in a situation of going back, visiting my parents, going back to the Pueblo, going back to the land of enchantment, going back to native land, and at least maybe 2 or 3 times a year, participating in SWAIA. That brings me back there too, the Indian market. So, the more I go back there, the more I travel throughout Arizona, New Mexico, Southwest, yeah, the more it kind of slowly just it's pulling me in.
Wow.
So, I'm hoping that there's going to be a point in the near future, well, where, yeah, I've got to move back here. I've got to relocate. I got to move back to the land of our people, to the land of the Isletan people, and just be out there, in native country. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so there are definitely different points. There are times in my life, different periods where I'm feeling a little unsettled, a little unbalanced,
Yeah.
and to get back in alignment, get back in tune. Yeah, I travel back to visit my parents and be back there, and that usually, that is my elixir for getting me back into this even plane, this balance, if you
Well,
will.
I have enjoyed talking to you, Rowan.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm hoping that we get to have a physical market and we're going to be, offering at least a portion of our artists the opportunity to be here during that time. So we're
Okay.
hopeful. We're hopeful.
Yeah, so am I. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being out there, not only at SWAIA, but all the different Indian markets that I participate in, and also here in Southern California, because I do a lot of art shows here that are non-Native American art shows. So I'm hoping to get back out there, get back out there, interacting with the public, sharing my art, sharing my culture, with those, who are interested.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And you have a great, great day.
Okay, have a good
Thank
one.
you so much. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank
Bye.
you.